Just waiting a minute to see if people are going to come in. I'm hoping we start a discussion. You all know who I am by now, but for those who don't, I am Pamela Parrish. I'm here to talk about the recent shooting up in Michigan. Um, Apparently, a young 15-year-old at Oxford High School decided to take a gun into school and shoot up his school, killing 4 people and injuring 7. Um, I heard about this the other day, but I didn't have time to get on here because we've had repair people here at the house trying to finish up the repairs on my formerly flooded basement that happened this summer. While I have a little bit of time before the sun goes down, I'm going to give you a little bit of a discussion about how I feel and what should happen to the wayward parents that were captured last night hiding in an industrial building in Detroit, some 40 miles away from the actual incident. And their hotshot lawyer should be brought up to the parole or the law board. Their hotshot piece of shit lawyer should be brought up to the board and barred for lying to authorities, saying that these two were going to turn themselves in. They took $4,000 out of the motherfucking bank and ran. So I don't get it. It just goes to prove that if we had people that were armed, people still would have been shot, people still would have died. And there was a lot of failures, not just in terms of his parents, but in the school itself. And I think those that failed to heed those warning signs should be held accountable. And I have to say, they brought his parents in, they discussed what they feel, what was going on, and yet the parents felt no need to take him out and get him mental counseling or any type of therapy. They felt it necessary to, just let him go back to class. And a few hours later, kids were shot and 4 died. 4 died, 7 injured. Look at that for a minute. And I saw some of the arraignments. They got that kid on terrorism charges and manslaughter. The kid is a punk-ass nerd. And I talked about it on my Facebook before I was put in Facebook jail for 30 days. So, yeah. I called him a nerd. Even if he was bullied as a kid, that's no excuse to open up fire on your students or your fellow friends. And the people that failed him worst of all are his parents. They were the ones that I think Daddy got him the gun. Mama took him to the shooting range. And as far as I know, in terms of legal age to own a gun, he is not of legal age. So, yeah, a lot of failures have happened to culminate in what happened this past week. A punk-ass kid thought it would be really cool to go into a school and shoot up his friends and fellow students. But the parents didn't see a problem, and they sent his ass back to class, even after the school called the parents in, let them know what they seen and what they heard, and they did nothing about it. And people have said on the internet, there was no way that he should have been allowed to go back to class. And it really makes me sick, because last night, before I went to bed, his parents went on the run after the kid's arraignment. They took out $4,000 and ran some 40 miles away to some place in Detroit in an industrial building, hiding from law enforcement. Doesn't sound like they're turning themselves in. And their piece of shit lawyer should be brought up to the bar and locked up. Hello. I've been watching a lot about this case over the last couple days, and it's been one of those like what the hell moments, you know? But I'm still here. I'm still alive. Just been busy with house and stuff, so that, and I got most of my Christmas shopping done today, so I'm pretty good with that. But I'm looking here. Oxford High School shooting has a Wikipedia page already. And they said over 50 minutes ago on New York Times. As we all know, a manhunt had happened, and they said on New York Times, they say, after manhunt, parents of shooting suspect are arraigned. Come on. And it says here, the couple was taken into custody early today in Detroit after the cops received a tip. They pled not guilty to involuntary manslaughter charges. Apparently, they don't think they had a hand in this. Well, I say they did. And there's video. And you could unmute it when you go to New York Times. You could type in Michigan school shooting on New York Times. Let's see. The parents of a Michigan teen who the police say fatally shot 4 classmates in the halls of Oxford High School in suburban Detroit were arrested early today after being the subject of an intense manhunt. His parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, were taken into custody in a commercial building in Detroit after the police received a tip that led them to that location. Officials said arriving officers spotted their vehicle, moved in, and arrested them. And it says here, it came a day after they were charged with involuntary manslaughter in the deaths and failed to show up to their arraignment and apparently fled town. We have, in fact, taken them into custody without incident, James E. White, the Detroit police chief, said in the early morning news conference. They appeared to be hiding in the building, he said. We got a tip, and they were there. They didn't resist when officers moved in to arrest them, he said, describing the couple as distressed. And the headline underneath that is hiding in a warehouse. Video surveillance camera showed one of the parents walking outside of the building, the chief had said. He added that they appeared to be hiding inside one of the rooms in the commercial building. This it doesn't indicate of them turning themselves in, hiding in a warehouse. So let me get this straight. They hid in a commercial building instead of turning themselves in. Like somebody said on CNN today, turning yourself in, it's not that hard. You know, but the chief says the couple did not break into the building but were let in by someone. The person who aided them is being investigated by the police. You know, and this person could be facing charges, the chief had said. The person's relationship to the Crumbleys, he said, was not immediately clear, but the authorities know who this person is. The couple was arraigned on Saturday, where they each pled not guilty to all 4 charges of involuntary manslaughter. Before his mother entered her plea, she was asked by the judge if she understood the charges. The couple were charged in the students' deaths. The official said their son, Ethan Crumbley, who is 15, carried out the shootings on Tuesday using a handgun his parents had bought for him. On Friday, Karen D. McDonald, the Oakland County prosecutor, said the Crumbleys were culpable in the year's deadliest school shooting because they had allowed their son access to a handgun while ignoring glaring warnings that he was on the brink of violence. Law enforcement officials had said the parents went missing on Friday afternoon, prompting a manhunt that involved the county's Fugitive Apprehension Team, FBI agents, and the United States Marshals. The search drew in the Detroit police when officials received tips that led them to the area where Saturday's arrest had taken place, just north of the Detroit River. And they have a mugshot of those two idiots. You know, and they said on the news last night, from my own words, they said on the news last night that they were bound and determined to get the parents of this teenager. They say, and I will quote it, quote, "They cannot run from their part in this tragedy," unquote, says the sheriff Michael Branchard of Oakland County said in a statement on Friday before the couple was captured. And there's a debate over gun access, of course, which we all know. Most people don't want to take responsibility that their kid may be a cold-blooded killer. At the arraignment, Mrs. McDonald, referring to the couple's son, argued that the parents had the ability to prevent this tragedy. These two individuals could have stopped it, and they had every reason to know he was dangerous, and they gave him a weapon, and they didn't secure it, and they allowed him free access to it. But the couple's lawyers in their defense mentioned that, or maintained that the couple were not fleeing. We'll talk about that in a second. Again, the lawyer claims that they weren't fleeing. The lawyer, whose name is Shannon Smith, said they were absolutely going to turn themselves in. She attributed the delay to a miscommunication with the prosecutor's office. They were scared. They were terrified, Smith says. They were figuring out what to do, getting their finances in order, she added. Later that, all the prosecution had to do was communicate with me about it, and we tried a couple times. The defense lawyers also disputed the prosecutor's statement that the gun was easily accessible in the Crumbly home. The court is only aware of the facts that the prosecution has presented, but that gun was actually locked, Ms. Smith said. She also said there is far more going on than what the court is being made aware of. The deadly gunfire in Oxford in Oakland County, about 30 miles north of Detroit, added to a growing list of shootings this year on school grounds in the States, after a lull during the early months of the coronavirus pandemic, when many schools held classes remotely. In announcing the charges against the parents, Ms. McDonald gave a detailed accounting of Ethan Crumbly's alleged access leading up to the shooting. On the morning of November 30th, the day of the shooting, she said the suspect's parents were urgently called to the school after one of his teachers found an alarming note he had drawn. And it says here, he scrawled with images of a gun, a person who had been shot, and had a laughing emoji, and the words "blood everywhere" and "the thoughts won't stop, help me." Again, let me try that again. One of the teachers found a disturbing drawing and took pictures of it on her phone, from what I've seen on the news. It had a drawing of a person who had been shot, images of a gun, and a laughing emoji with the words "blood everywhere" and "the thoughts won't stop, help me." The day before the shooting, a teacher had seen the suspect searching for ammo for the gun in class, which led to a meeting with the officials of the school. The prosecutor said after being informed by the school about their son's behavior, Ms. McDonald said Ms. Crumbly texted her son, "LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught. The shooting took the lives of the following: Hannah St. Juliana, who was 14, Madison Baldwin, age 17, Tate Moore, who was 16, and Jason Schilling, 17. And, that's it. That's all that article says. Again, the 4 that were killed by this punk. Let's see. Go down here to the bottom. The 4 victims, again, are Hannah St. Juliana, Madison Baldwin, Tate Moore, and Jason Schilling. It was totally preventable. I believe that. Because who in the hell buys their kid a gun? We'll talk about Christmas here later on this week. But who in the hell buys their kid a gun? I don't think the kid was well within the age to have a weapon of any kind. The sad thing is, I think his father bought it for him and gave it to him early as a present. And as I said in my other video that I tried to get off here, that he was showing off his new, quote, baby on Instagram. And was just being a real asshole. Normally, such places like Instagram, Twitter, anything won't allow any pictures with guns. This kid is 15 years old, and he threw his life away. For what? Because he has mental issues? And you have parents that are in such denial, it isn't even funny. Too many people are dying at the hands of idiots. And those 4 individuals that he murdered will not be coming home. They'll not be spending Christmas with their families. They'll not have another birthday. They'll always be the ages they are when they died. And I would talk about this on Facebook, but I called the little punk a nerd. And I got put in Facebook jail for 30 days. You know what? I'm glad I did, because that's what he is. A monstrous nerd. And he should rot in jail, as should his parents. And they say the most those guys could get is 15 years. I'm talking about the parents. They could get 15 years. They should get life in prison. They're just as guilty as the kid who pulled the trigger. My thoughts go out to the 4 individuals that passed away over the week. So, yeah. Let's see if I see anything current on the Oxford school shooting before I log off here. I'm not going to be on long tonight because I'm tired. Let's see. Current information on the Oxford school shooting. Okay. Most of these are like 2, 3, 4 days ago. YouTube's on it. And they charged the kid as an adult. He has been moved to a facility, and he's going to be treated like an adult. If he committed the murder, then that's it. And I went to the school's website, the Oxford school website, and they say, with the hashtag, together we are hashtag Oxford's strong. It's Oxford strong, one word. It says, as we grapple with the horrific tragedy in our school community, we grieve the students who lost their lives, and we ache for those that have been injured and impacted. We appreciate all the heartfelt outpouring of support we have received from across our state and our nation. Thank you to the heroic students, staff, and first responders for their brave and swift actions that undoubtedly saved lives. Please continue to keep our families, staff, and community in your most sincere thoughts and prayers. Our district schools will remain closed for the rest of the week. The district's families and staffs, please see your email from OCS for details on grief counseling. Together we are #Oxford Strong. And if you want to look up Oxford School, you type it up on the internet. And they're taking donations, but I don't know if I want to donate because I think the school should bear some responsibility as well as the parents. They should get more than 15 years in prison. I just think it's really, really sad because, with all the stuff going on with, at Oxford. And it's really terrible because now they got all sorts of information on their oxfordschools.org website for coping with trauma, talking to children about violence, tips for parents and teachers, talking to children about the shooting, response to a mass casualty event at a school or general guidance for the first stage of recovery, first actions following a school crises event, reminders for crisis response and investigative teams, addressing grief in kids, care for caregivers, tips for family and educators, okay to say, and talking to children, infographic, Spanish edition. So yeah, they got all sorts of information about the shooting, but yeah, it's me. I'm here. I'm still alive. I just got my hair cut up shorter. I've just been incredibly busy with stuff around the home. So yeah, I'm still here. Still here. Just losing a little bit of weight. Hi. I'm sure you heard about what happened up in Detroit this past week. It's pretty sad, isn't it? At least somebody did. I know I went and visited my sister over Thanksgiving. Now that we got past the sour news, I got to see my sister over Thanksgiving. And my brother-in-law finally noticed that I lost some weight. He says, "How you been doing that?" And I said, "Eating salads, drinking orange juice, and having either cereal or milk for breakfast." Yeah. I've been on here quite a bit. It's just that you've probably been busy, but I've been kind of cutting back on my internet intake because, one, I don't go to Facebook very much because I've been put in Facebook jail for calling the little shooter a nerd. Because that's what he is. He's a slimy little nerd. And now that he's going to jail, his feelings don't mean nothing to me. I mean, I want to hear you guys' opinions. Do you think the parents should also get life in prison if the kid is charged with life in prison? I certainly think so because they had texts between mother and son. I am not mad at you, but you gotta try not to get caught. And the mother was pretty proud to be taking her son to the shooting range, and he is not of legal age to own a weapon for another. The father bought the gun, the mother took him to a shooting range, and that little punk showed that gun on camera and shared it on Instagram, which I'm sure the Instagram is probably gone by now. But I haven't really checked much on Twitter about any news. But they caught his parents last night. Hopefully they'll never get out of jail. They are a fucking flight risk. They should have known that when they were disagreeing with the police. They weren't following orders to cooperate. That's because, they fucked up. They fucked because they too are fucked up. They called the parents into the school, told them what was going on, what they witnessed, what they saw. It's the old adage, you see something, you say something. You call the parents in. And if you don't get the kid help, certainly there's going to be a certifiable disaster. And that's what happened this past week. And I feel bad for those that had to witness it. And I feel even worse for the 4 that died and the 7 that have injuries that are in the hospital. I heard one guy got shot in the face and was still able to get treated and walk out of the hospital. Yeah. And it's a terrible time to be alive because people have forgotten how to give a damn about each other. Then you have the gun-toting nuts, like those 2 parents, if you want to call them parents, that go out and buy their youngsters weapons. And things haven't changed since Columbine. Sure, you could have all the training that you want, but it's not going to solve the problem. People still died. People still got shot. And I hurt for the 4 that died, for sure. The only difference is when Columbine happened, Eric Harris's father had a big book full of all his run-ins with the law. That punk, Eric Harris, talked about killing people and raping women. And the other one, Dylan Klebold, was a sad kid who wanted to get a gun and use it on himself. But I think being under Eric Harris's influence kind of pulled him into the shooting that happened at Columbine. And when the parents found out that they were wearing trench coats, the father of Dylan Klebold tore through their house looking for that trench coat. And when they didn't find it, they knew their son was a part of that. But the parents of this current motherfucker, the little punk motherfucker that's in jail now, their parents don't care. They seem proud that they got their son a gun. Oh, I took my son to the shooting range. And he was showing off his gun on his Instagram. I got my new baby. And the teacher caught him looking for ammo on the phone during class. In most schools, they have you give up your cell phone before class. You go in, you put the phone into like a little box, and they hold on to that phone until after you finish that class. So there were multiple failures, not just on the school's part, but massively on the parents' part. If anybody should also get charged with murder, it should be the parents. After all, you're responsible for your kids' bullshit. But then they don't think about anything. And I've seen pictures of his parents. They're weird-looking characters. Absolutely strange. And I hope those fuckers never see the light of day again. But I think the child will be in jail probably for life. But the parents will get probably 15 years, if that. So we'll see how this plays out. Not a good way to start the holiday season. We had just come off of Thanksgiving. But it's only going to get worse, especially if schools don't tighten up their protocols. So much for see something, say something, right? Then when they arraigned the kid, after the arraignment was over, the parents took off. They took out $4,000 and they ran. They caught him early this morning, 30 to 40 miles away from the initial incident, hiding in an industrial building. That doesn't sound to me like they were going to turn themselves in. They were hiding. They were scared, and they should be, because they know their brat is going to go away for a long time. And I'm glad I called that kid a nerd because that's what he is, a cowardly nerd. Makes me sick, man. And I was looking at videos here on YouTube the other day, and one 15-year-old was brazen enough to get on that video and say, I'm 15 years old, and I don't see the attraction of a 15-year-old getting a gun and going to school and killing people. It's just really sad. And I said, I feel bad for you because back when I went to school, we didn't really have shootings at school. We had the occasional asshole in class or the occasional asshole out on the playground stealing lunch money from kids or causing fights. But I guess in the age of the internet and 24-hour news, it's more prevalent. But I will say, I hope that we aren't becoming desensitized to what's happening. But I don't think we've learned anything from Columbine. We have learned nothing from Columbine. Especially when you have wayward parents like this current case, and reflecting back on Eric Harris' situation in 1999. His father had a personal rap sheet of his run-ins with the law. He wrote down everything that his son Eric had done, and in terms of cops running in with cops, and nothing was ever done to stem his problems. And many people would often send out what I call red flag warnings to other parents, including Susan Klebold, who got told Eric Harris has an explosive temper. And some parents might not want to believe that because that child may be nice in their presence, and they don't really see it. And look what happened. Many people died at Columbine that day. Among them, Daniel Mauser. And it's horrible. Again, we have learned nothing from Columbine. And Oxford School should be ashamed. Maybe we should have had him take him out of school. I would say, I'm sorry, unless your son gets help, we will not allow him in our school. We can't. But no, they brought the parents in for a meeting, but the parents didn't see anything wrong with it. They didn't even bother to search the damn backpack for the gun. And they sent the kid back to school, only to go into the bathroom 2 hours later and come out opening fire on his fellow classmates. What a bunch of Hollywood hooey. But this isn't Hollywood. This is the new reality. Now, those kids have joined a club that no other student ever wants to join. It's another school in modern day America, and I'm part of the school shooting club. It's not a club you want to be in, but those students will be forever connected. Those that have died will be forever connected. And the other ones that survived this will be forever connected. And who knows how long they'll be affected by this? Maybe for the rest of their lives, for all I know. But to his parents, I just want to say, you're a special kind of fucked up to get your kid a gun. You're a special kind of fucked up to brag about taking your kid to a shooting range. And your husband, honey, was stupid enough to buy him that weapon. He is not the right age. He doesn't have the mental fortitude to be responsible. When you got people saying there's something weird going on with your kid, you damn well better look into it. Even if it means searching their room. And if you look back at Columbine, I'm sure the 2020 of that is still up on YouTube. I don't know if I have it in my files. But, a lot of these parents need to really look into what their kids are doing in terms of social media, even their phone calls, cell phone or home or otherwise. You know, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold hid their plans pretty well. They wanted to kill as many people as possible. They wanted to shoot and blow up the school. And this punk that did this current shooting wanted to shoot as many people as possible. But we probably will never know the MO because they weren't cooperating with the police to begin with. So, yeah. I'd say throw the book at them. Give them all life in prison. Mother, father, and son. And like people were saying on CNN and CBS and NBC, that family is a flight risk. And they're still not wanting to be responsible for the shooting, Oh, we're not guilty, They're still pleading not guilty to what happened at Oxford School. I say, you know what? You are guilty for what happened. You bought him the gun. Pops, you bought him the gun. Mom, you took him to the shooting range. And 3, your son showed off the gun on Instagram. Yeah, you are as every bit as responsible as your brat, nerdly son. So, don't fuck with me on this. Now kids are afraid to go to school. They have to worry about whether they're going to come home that day. Nowadays, most kids, they have to go to school with an extra sense of keeping an eye out around them. They have to go to school with bulletproof backpacks. I've seen a lot of stories about these things. They're talking about bulletproof backpacks and shit. We didn't have none of that when I grew up. And all the gun toters will probably say, you're not going to take my guns away. Well, maybe it's time you really look into the mental stigma that is going on. They certainly didn't with Eric Harris. They failed Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. And they failed this young man, The school system really needs to up their A game. We haven't learned anything since Columbine. It's like you pull out there and you wait for hours and people are needing help, but no help comes. And after that, cops don't wait for a permission of go ahead. They get there, they get in there, and they stop the problem. But I think the school failed miserably for the 4 students that died and the 7 in total that were injured. The school failed miserably, and they need to be held into account. Whoever called them into the office should be held into account. And I bet it was the same person who allowed that kid to go back to class. Now that we have the parents in custody, and they're going to be put up against the coals as it is. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm sure they'll be airing the coverage here on YouTube if they go to trial. But I don't think that kid will ever walk out of jail again, and I hope he doesn't. Too many people have died, and we have learned nothing. We have learned nothing from Columbine. We've learned nothing from San Bernardino. We've learned nothing from the Santa Monica shooting. Nothing. And even in my area, people are getting killed. Some people up in Franklinton, I hear about a shooting every day up there. I hear about a shooting at Easton, at the Meijer at Easton. Somebody was outside and got shot dead at a Meijer at Easton about 2 weeks ago. So, no place is safe from crazy people, We all do what we have to do to get by every day, even if it means being a little scared going out the door. But my heart goes out to the 4 victims that died and the 7 that were injured. I hope the law throws the book at them, and I hope the parents get longer than 15 years. They should get 15 years for each life that was lost. Because 15 years to me is not long enough. It never will be long enough. Because Pops bought the gun, Mom took him to the training range, and look what happened. The school teacher and other people called out red flags that they had witnessed. In fact, the teacher that found the disturbing drawing took pictures of it with all the weird drawings on it and the writing. And at one point he said, "The world is dead" on that paper. Guy, the young kid, I've seen younger video of this child who looked innocent enough, but what would cause him to go so far off the rails it isn't even funny. It's rather shocking and it's disturbing. I wouldn't necessarily call it sad, but I think it has something to do with the parents. They had him do something with horseradish, and that stuff burns your nose. I know, I've eaten it myself. And the parents seem to get a kick out of tormenting him with that. So maybe they need to look into the parents' background. Because I think bullying like that type of bullying at home, plants a seed that we can't even begin to understand. It's like a pathological virus. And the only way to stop that virus is to find an out. And getting a gun, you instantly have power, so they say. When kids get a hand on a gun, they think they have instant power. And they often think that they won't get caught or they won't get in trouble. Well, now we got a young man in jail and his parents are in the same jail. And I hope to God that those people are never let out. And I think the school, Oxford High School, should be held accountable. I would send them a message, but I don't think he would like what I would have to say to them. Like, what the fuck are you doing sending a kid that has had weird writings of death? Weird drawings and writings about death and killing people. What are you doing sending him back to class? He had no business being in that classroom. I would have said, unless you get your son some help, you cannot come into this institution, and we will let other institutions know about your son and his record of having drawings about death and murder. Unless you get your son some help, he will no longer be allowed to be in this institution. It would have been 150% preventable. But no, the school failed. But firstly, the parents failed their son. I think they're just as mentally unstable as the son. So, there you have it. That is my discussion for tonight. I'm getting ready to get off and get ready for bed. I'm hoping by Monday we can get the rest of my basement finished because it was flooded this summer. But the flooring people never showed up yesterday, so yeah. Hopefully we'll see some results on Monday. But by Tuesday, I got a doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and 7 days after that, I got my big physical 7 days after that. So hopefully things will go well on that. So I just got to make sure somebody's here for the repair people when they come in. This house will not be left unguarded. So, yeah. Well, I'm going to call it a night. And I want to tell all my friends, thanks for the warm messages. I'm still here. I'm just not on as often because I've had a lot going on. And with Christmas coming, it's been crazy around here the last couple of weeks. We had to replace everything in my basement, from the walls to the carpeting to, I think we're going to have to replace the water tank here in some days, but we'll get that figured out soon enough. But we have to get a repair done on my heating system. And all that money that we got from the insurance company is helping us with the repairs. But my brother kind of fell and broke his back, so he's not working right now. And he's afraid about going totally broke if he doesn't get a job soon. I mean, he wants to go back and do the job that he's been wanting to do, but, putting in electrical equipment at restaurants and other buildings. But right now, it just doesn't look good because he fell and broke his rib and a couple of places in his back. He's not paralyzed. He's getting back to quote, quote, normal, but it's just going to take him a while to get back to work. So, yeah. Otherwise, I'm still here. I just haven't been on as much. I try not to drive my brother crazy with these streams or bother the workers with these. So, yeah. But I'll get on here and keep me busy for the next 30 days on my suspension from Facebook. So, I'm considering leaving Facebook. So, yeah. You can't call somebody a nerd. They're so butthurt over there. It's ridiculous. And that murderer is a monstrous little nerd who needs to be neutered. Because I said on Facebook, I said when they line him up to fry him, I hope he's scared shitless. And somebody reported my comment for wanting harm. Yeah, I want harm to come to the little bastard. If not by execution, by the inmates, of course. I hope they make it very unpleasant for him in jail. I hope they make it very unpleasant for his parents in jail. Because he killed 4 people and injured 7 others. You think I'm ever going to be nice to that? No. Fuck no. Never will. Well, let me know what you think should happen to the parents. Leave comments below. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. And I'll update you on any news coming down the pike, either before Christmas or sometime after Christmas. So it just depends on how fast I can get the repairs done around here. So I'm going to get off for the night. It's getting dark, and I'm going to try and get into bed early. I haven't slept much the last couple of days. So take care of yourself and each other. And I'll keep you up to date on my health. So, and I want to thank those that did stop in to wish me good wishes and how they miss me. I miss doing these things, but it's getting harder and harder to do because I don't use any fancy titles or fancy music. I just get on here and talk about things and be honest and open and be fiery at times. Sometimes you have to be fiery to let people know how you feel. And after this past week, I don't ever want to hear about a school letting down their students the way Oxford School has. Because that shooting was 100% preventable. But whoever thought it was good for that kid to go back to class in the early part of that day should pay by losing his job and never be allowed to be working in any school institution at all, period. And as to the parents, they need to be in jail for the same amount of time as their kid. They might not have pulled the trigger, but they gave him the method of pulling it. They bought the weapon. Mother took him to the gun range. And it culminated into what happened this past week. So, yeah. So, I'm not going to worry about it. Not going to worry about it. The law will handle them. Hopefully, they'll never let the parents out again. But, I hope that little fucker winds up in hell sooner rather than later. And as to the parents, they were the weirdest looking parents I've ever seen. So, yeah. Have a good night, everybody. I'm tired and I'm out of here. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourself. And if you can, get the shots. I'm going to go for my booster here in February, I think. And hopefully this new variant won't hit us as hard, but you never know. You got those that'll never get the shots. So we'll see how that goes also. But take care of yourselves and each other. Life's too precious to be fussing and feuding. So think about that when we go through the holidays these next couple of weeks. Be safe. Take care of each other. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below in the video, and I will get back to you sometime later in the week. Bye.